You get the number, let me ring them.
And maybe next time, that screen, we get the number.
Then
we shall get to have to
ring the
person.
And others say that is it Sare put me on the list. Now, does Sare have that time?
Does Sare put you on?
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hey Teddy, have you noticed how little attention science and health issues get in the media?
Totally, Edgar, yet science information is very important.
Yeah, for sure. That's why the Health Journalists Network is here.
How can they help?
They are a group of journalists dedicated to advancing public understanding of healthcare issues through impactful reporting on health and science.
Oh, really?
Yes, they meet up every month with scientists and researchers, policymakers, and activists at the science media cafes. They then relay what they discuss to the public.
Does that benefit us?
Oh yes, very much so. This helps with health and science literacy for a healthy Ugandan society.
Okay. I love getting informed about science and health issues. Health information makes all the difference between life and death. I'll look them up and engage them.
That's great. They are based all over the country.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, and they should be making real impact.
They are empowering health communities through journalism. Journalists can save lives just like doctors.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
I believe it's a good evening, Monday 13th October 2025. My name is Tumuhimbise. I am very humbled to once again have our panel tonight on our show, Hotline, where we look for people to discuss at length our topical discussion. In particular, today, we are trying to dive deeper into the independence 63 years later on whether it is even worth celebrating or it's a mere ritual, for, if I may apply such a phrase. Gladly, we have with us Honorable Awich Pollar, and he is the Director Foreign External Affairs in NRM. We shall also hear from Professor Rogers Barigayomwe. He's a renowned political commentator and a lawyer, an advocate to that regard. Seconds or thereabout, we shall also be joined by Honorable Mabikke to dig deeper in regards to our topical discussion. But a summary of our 63 years, if I should state, we have 40, at least by next year, January, there will be 40 years, for which Honorable Awich and the team ought to account for. And then we have those 23 where all of them will perhaps also account for. Another summary of our 63 years is that we have had 4 constitutions, one being of 1962, the Independence Constitution, the pigeonholed Constitution of 1966. Of course, some people do not want to call it the 1967 as a constitution because some UPC diehards have talked to saying that the 1966 constitution was rather an approval of 1966. So they consider 1967 constitution as not being a constitution to some UPC people. Thereafter, we have the 1995 constitution. So it depends on which school of thought each one of you belongs to. You may adopt the theory that 1967 there was another constitution. You may also simply saying that they convened to approve the 1966 constitution. But we have 2 advocates already. In fact, we shall have 3 advocates tonight. In 63 years, we have had 2 military coups. That is the 1971 by General Idi Amin Dada. We have also had the 1985 coup by Basilio Orala and Tito Okello Lutwa. I mentioned Basilio Orala because some historians say that he's the one who captured power, but because he was less educated as compared to Tito Okello, he rather asked his cousin, I gather, Tito Okello, to come and take charge of the country in 1985. Additionally, we have had a constitutional coup, if I should say that. That is 1966, which led to the crisis, and the independence constitution was overthrown in 1966. Also, we have had a number of elections, beginning with the 1961 elections, where DP and UPC participated, but Kabaka Yeka boycotted, did not participate. We had the 1962 around April elections that now rather led to the independence constitution. We had the 1985 December 10th, rather 1980 elections under UPC, where they had issues and the entire elections were disputed by UPM. Also, in all this period, we have had 2 revolutionary, if I should apply, struggles. We have 1979 UNLFA / Front, also National Resistance Movement. So those are people-led struggles. So that's a summary of our 63 years. But to emphasize, out of the 63 years, Honorable Awich Pollar and the colleagues therein, government, ought to be held accountable for 40 years out of 63 years. Sorry for taking you all these minutes, but I consider it very important that I would give you highlights of what has transpired in all that period of 63 years. Of course, there are so many other things that have happened. I want now gladly to welcome Honorable Awich Pollar so that he would defend both 40 years and also the other 23. Say hello, sir, to our viewers. Yeah. Say hello, and of course, you may proceed and also give us a summary of how your week has been, because as far as I know, you were in Greater Lango sub-region trying to look for votes here and there. So say hello, and of course, you give us a summary of your previous weeks that we haven't met you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. And you know, with the discipline
of NRA
and NRM, where I grew up in, when you tell me something, I follow exactly what you have said.
So
if you have told me, if you told me to say hello, and that is all. So that's why I wanted you to qualify. But good evening, viewers. I think we have missed being here.
Yeah, sure.
And I hope we won't keep missing each other for like that, because it's a tricky moment for me. We're in the middle of the campaign. And this time round, NRM has decided that the campaign will be party structure led. And unlike in the past where we would contract people, call a task force. So these days we are not doing that. We are using the structure because that is what the people were elected for. Meaning, therefore, the secretariat is at the center of it. As you rightly said, last week I was in Lango. Lango consists of 10 districts. And out of the 10 districts, 9 districts plus the city to make 10, it is where President Museveni started his campaign. The launch was in Luero. He didn't campaign in Luero. He's coming back to Luero. So he started off from Lango. And I was there. I'm the focal person. I'm the team leader for President Museveni's campaign in Lamu, and therefore had to be on the ground before he could come, mobilize using public address system, but also the radio stations, which thanks to NRM, every district has a radio station. So I did mobilize. As you saw on the TV, the crowd was big, and unfortunately on the first day I didn't have the bullets. My bullets was the t-shirts. The yellow t-shirts had not arrived, so I'm Molatara and Dokolo I did without t-shirts. But the next day, Leptong, Otuke and the rest, I was well covered.
Doesn't that represent unpreparedness of you, the entire people in government?
Well, we always have challenges. So we did well. The turn-up was good. Elders gave him a stool, a shield, a spear to continue fighting. The support is massive, and we expect people to turn up and vote. The last rally was in Uyam, where we did a massive one because we called it an exit rally, because it was now exiting now, going to West Nile. And I told my colleagues in West Nile that I'm not going to be selfish. Please gather bigger crowd than me, than mine. I don't want to say I'm the one who has gathered the biggest crowd. Please gather more than me. I granted them. Although a friend of mine said, knowing by what happened in Laos, we are yet to see whether anybody will beat your record. So that is what has been there. I don't know whether you want me to go to the topic now or remain there.
You could remain there a bit, maybe just to ask a leading question of a yes or no. Do you consider yourselves as a team, of course, that is going to be declared victors come next year?
Yes.
Okay. You have, on your left, you have another advocate. He may see things differently. Professor, say hello to the viewers. And of course, you give us a summary of what you have watched or followed in as far as the electoral process is concerned. And from there, we shall now dive deeper into the topical discussion.
Yeah, good evening, our viewers. I'm happy to be here with Major retired Awich Pollar, again, who I always recognize as my mentor, and to congratulate him from coming from Lango, where he led the team. Yeah, of course.
Rogers, you don't mention we are all boys of the great school, of the great entire school.
Yeah, that's why he mentored me from.
Maybe he shies away to mention that you're from there after managing the country. Because, okay,
I know Rogers loves this school.
Kindly mention that he's your OB from the great entire school.
The great school, Ntare, which had a good culture, but some of the people, sometimes in some circles, you even shy away because the culture of Ntare was to express ourselves, and this is a culture basically we're seeing in the national politics, but I don't know, is it some schools I think are trying to smuggle this thing of taking away people unknowingly was not a culture in Ntare school, because like he mentored me, and I would say specifically to debate. And you wouldn't. That's why in us there is no tension that someone, you would debate the issues up to the end.
And walk home freely.
Exactly, and walk home freely, and even greet each other, and we've remained.
And even regards the academic classes, for example, Roger started debating from S1 with senior 6. You know, an S1 student debating with senior 6 comfortably without fear. Yeah. That's what it was. By the time he came to S2, they're already senior debaters.
So, actually, to give credit to Ntare, I remember when I went to HSC in St. Mary's, Chisobi, SMAC, which we thought was one of the best, there was a lot of segregation. An S2 or S3 could not see, a person would not see to be seen on compound with an HSC. And I think that Chisobi culture is being smuggled within the NRM, that they are making people disappear. Because the entire culture, I didn't know who is bringing that culture anyway. We'll debate that, but the entire culture was, everyone was free with each other. And I remember a person like, I remember Professor Kamuntu at one time when he was still a UPC, he came in freely And he was an MC, I think, on one occasion when President Museveni as Anobi had come, and I think that interested him, and he brought him back to government because of that freeness. I mean, and Professor Kamuntu never took it personal. He served, and up to now he's a royal from UPC's torch. Those were boys, Obote's boys, but he has served the NRM because we believe in a free. So I don't know what bacteria is eating up, but I think it is something like we said, either from Kisubi, Namilyango, or anywhere else, not entirely.
But unless you shy away from mentioning, the gentleman at the helm is from Untare.
No,
unless you say that he with Untare is okay, but then he brings about the Mbarara High School conduct, if it was there anyway.
By now the forces are not only in Tare, you know that, not even at the helm. So you other people, like you said, they may be the weavers, and you know somehow in Kisubi are called bin weavers. So maybe the weavers have come in and disorganized the system. So and I won't mention the weavers,
but the police. The commander-in-chief specifically mentioned the Kaukumi when Smack was heading police.
And is it because now it is heading the army?
Police, the Weevil, the Kaukumi was mentioned when Smack was heading police.
If you mention...
the Kaukumi is not mentioned in the army.
No, but no, he said it in police. Like he said when someone, now it has crossed maybe... Yeah, because some senior members of mine from Sumaka also heading the army. So we don't know where, either Ntare or the other But I thank God for Lango. I've done activities in Lango, and to see that Lango and probably Acholi are getting stable. And I congratulate my friends that they are getting stable for the movement. It is something either which should be researched why it is like so, because previously those are the people who were totally, actually the reason why President Museveni went to Lango first, I think he has, because actually Lango and Acholi is where he's winning from, leave alone the West. It's the only secure place outside the West, Lango and Acholi. And yet those are the regions where you would expect him to get less than 20% if you look at the previous election. So as scientists, we need to research and find out reasons for that. But it's because partly stability, those people had many years of instability. And at one time, they were encouraged because of I think the animal compensation. They turned their heart towards government when those programs were drawn. So it's interesting to see the NRM turn around in the Lango region, and generally, largely, that there is peace. We thank God for that. And so that's what I've been observing. And of course, NOP, I've been following up NOP rallies. And I'm encouraged that this time, I don't know if it's not yet time that they are feeling the tension, but that this time they seem to be, the soldiers and policemen, the security forces seem to be more civil. And all these candidates.
Now you see, the commandant is from Kisubi. Because you almost said.
Yeah, so we see some, they are being civil, and we see candidates move around. Of course, with those restrictions, which I also agree with, you cannot be anywhere. If you have a message, you can be restricted, not to come to the market, not. Of course, definitely, that is a bit of a lie, because we know that NRM started its revolution in some people's gardens. My grandfather's farm in Luwero in Matuga, and all his cows, over 100 cows, were taken and never being compensated. Unlike my brothers in Lango, who have been compensated and who have welcomed the government, people in Ruwero where they started were disgruntled because they've never been compensated to date. And yet, what is an irony, the real victims of these people, it was clear the people who were eating their animals were the NRM, and Baganda have largely not been compensated. Yet for Lango, you would say Kony and everything, but they are being compensated. So the people in Ruwero have a right to say that we will not vote you because you did all this mess in our places, in our markets. Like, why don't they want other people to go to market? Because they did a mess in their markets, and the Baganda were not compensated. So if they vote them out, I would believe they are right to do so. But in Lango, I congratulate them because they did the needful. They've restored security, and yeah, let them celebrate with the gains they are making in Lango and Choli. And recently, I even just today I saw Norbert Mao endorse President Museveni in Acholi. In Lango, Akena is not standing. There is not going to be a UPC. And for me, I think it was strategic because NRM had to frustrate UPC because they knew in case of anything, like I told you, NRM is winning this vote in Lango and Acholi because they won't get Buganda, they will not get Busoga, and when they have the West, yes, they will stay with the West, and largely because, of course, of Dr. Kizza Besigye being in jail, and that is shame upon them. But really, largely, though they've contained their main contender, the campaign, for me that's why I discredit this election. You cannot have your main opponent in prison and you call this an election. It's a sign of cowardice. But I congratulate the fact that what is on ground, there is not so much violence. But they did their homework before, and that's why they contained Dr. Kizza Besigye, who I believe was not involved in those allegations. And you wait, the way they did Chagula, they never finished their cases. They never finished their cases. And to me, I believe here on earth they've taken a good advantage, but I believe I should be having a same seat with President Museveni, all these NRM members in heaven, and I show them that what they've been doing is unjust, and they are also convinced that what they are playing is unjust politics to take advantage of their main opponents, which they were at one time victims, and they are repeating this. So this is a bit of the retrogression from independence, saying that we are no longer independent, that when you have your mind, you know, I called you sometime that I couldn't come on this show because I was being threatened just because of speaking my mind. And this, like I said, is not a culture which the NRM came to build. They believed in human rights until of recent. That I'm told a person like Mugume is a titem coming to a month. Mugumia. Sam Mugumia. No one is accounting for them, and they are in charge. So on some issues, like I've highlighted, they've progressed, but they are retrogressing in many issues of human rights. Okay.
Thank you, Professor Barigayomwe. Now, I had wanted to just run to Honorable Awich Pollar, but then Honorable Michael Mabikke dropped in, and of course, I will not apologize on his behalf. He has to apologize to, himself to the viewers. But of course, that does not bar us from thanking him for making it here, because sometimes there are those unforeseen circumstances that also may bar people to be where they are expected. Honorable Mabikke, say hello to our viewers, and then I will tell you why you are here.
Norman, you know, I am Secretary General of one of the fastest growing parties in Uganda.
You will have to defend that. Maybe it is fast growing, yeah?
I'm sorry to our viewers, I'm sorry, I'm coming in just slightly a little late. But better late than never. It is never my practice, but circumstances beyond my control. I'm happy to meet Dr. Barigayomwe. I am meeting him for the first time.
Oh,
Our man, veteran, Awich. How is the soldier? Major? Retired.
And he hails from the mass party, so you should also add.
From the outgoing party. I'm very pleased to be here. As usual, thank you for hosting us, Norman.
Humble.
And thank you for inviting us. Thank you for the show. Greetings from the DF. Greetings from the President, the Honorable Matthias Mpuga, who is not running as a president or as a presidential candidate. Also, greetings from Makindye East, where I am more or less just waiting to swear in as the next member of parliament.
With how Honorable Awich is looking at you.
No, he's always a doubter. That one is always a doubter.
He's another Thomas. When it comes to your
whatever. Of course, I don't know.
Do you happen to be a weevil from Kisubi?
Of course, yes.
He was doubting that you were. He's one of the
from Kisubi.
Actually, he doesn't know that I was actually the prefect of his CDF.
Hey.
I was his house prefect
and
in Lode House. Those years, as when we were boys. So when I see people here, talking, jumping around, I just laugh.
They were saying you are responsible for
for the suffering of some of the people, because Professor Rogers was asserting, if I should apply that UPDF being led by Kisubi OB, there hasn't been proof that you people can really manage things well. So now, if you're from Kisubi and your OB is also heading the army, now you are going to Makindye.
No, but the OBs are everywhere. The OBs are in law, they are in medicine, they are in engineering, they are in the military, they are in police, they are all over the place.
Okay. I want to ask you, in the three also means to paint for us a picture of what so far you have done or seen, observed, and or critique if there are some imperfections, drawing our scenario from the NRM mobilization. Honestly speaking, as a follower, these gentlemen and ladies have numbers. On whether they are genuine numbers, it is another topic. I mean, it's for some other day. With you, I do not know. You cowardized from contesting.
Do they have numbers or they have Chinese? Or they have Chinese?
I don't know whether they have numbers.
You know these Chinese crowds.
But you see, their crowds at least exist, and they have a presidential candidate. You do not have crowds. You don't have a presidential candidate. Okay, so what are you? Proceed.
No.
And in fact, you can also highlight for us why, after you're cowardized to have a presidential candidate, that you went to support Honorable Munyagwa.
But you're using the wrong. You're using the very wrong word.
Cowardize.
Don't use that word cowardize. We never cowardized. We gave reasons, and we gave reasons. Number one, first of all, let me refute the fake news that DF has adopted
any candidate.
Okay. We held a national council. We are a law-loving, abiding party. We follow our constitution. Unlike most of these parties, you know, it is very, very difficult, for instance, I can tell you, for Mr. Awich to run as chairman of the NRM. The day he ever expresses interest is the day he will get out. The gentleman we have here with us. The day he ever says that even dreams about standing as chairman of the NRM is the day he will leave. But in the DF it's different. We have a different culture. We invited a meeting with the National Council. We presented facts before it, and the National Council took a decision. What are the facts? Number one, we as leaders of the DF were at the forefront of trying to introduce into the national debate the issue of reforms and transition. The DF is of the position that the country didn't even need to go into this election before doing three things. First, undertake a deliberate process of transition. Two, undertake critical, administrative, constitutional, and electoral reforms. Three, undertake a program of national reconciliation. The other three elements of the whole discussion are peripheral, but the three are very critical. We did write to the NRM. We wrote to the Secretary General of the NRM. We wrote to each and every party, drawing their attention to the critical and salient issues the country faced or needed before running into the next election. Actually, most of them, including the National Unity Platform, showed little interest. Actually, the NRM and the leading opposition party conspired to frustrate and sabotage any attempt for reform. When it came to sabotaging the DF proposed reform program, the NRM and the NUP spoke the same language. And what was critical in this? We said after 40 years of the national resistance movement, because you remember, President Seven came here and said, "Look, I'm not a leader. I am a farmer. I'm actually a cattle keeper. I only want a few years to sort out your mess, and I turn to my cattle." But since then, he has been going on and on and on. That transition which he promised, the transition from the guns that liberated, the guns that now rule, to a fully civilian dispensation has never come. And that is why today, as we are going to discuss today, we still have this kind of impunity. I've met him talk about the torture. I've met him talk about the military and security involvement in the elections. That's one of the reasons why we still have this. Now, we said too that the nation needed to reform, especially the Presidential Elections Act. Why? The manner of declaration of the president. Two, we have two registers in Uganda. We are in an election. We are going to vote with two registers. One biometric, the other manual. When the biometric fails,
you do manual.
They resort to manual. Which country? Why has the country failed to adopt appropriate technology? To have your fingers or eyes.
But we have,
now,
Honorable, in a second, it's a common practice and basic logic that even in a building, you'll have an emergency exit in the event of fire.
Yes, but
in the event, if they had one, you would still say, what if it doesn't work? Why wouldn't we also have?
Emergencies are not used during normal times. You cannot have emergency all the time.
Because you have the lift and the
yes, you can never work under emergency all the time.
Then you have the steps.
Nations that are governed better have got appropriate technology that provides for one register. We cannot proceed. We cannot continue with elections where we have two registers. This nation needs one national register and must be biometric. And I am happy that we speak the same language with the NRM. President Yoweri Museveni recently said that NUP stole 2 million votes.
So literally out of 3, they had 1. So they rigged it 2.
And he himself was talking about
rigging.
He himself was talking about getting technology that will stop that, using biometrics. So we speak the same language. How comes we have not been able to implement that? So we said under the prevailing conditions, without those reforms, without transition, without national reconciliation, actually, this election is organized in a manner to favor one particular candidate, who is Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. And therefore it is useless. The winner of this election is already known. The winner of this election is more or less predetermined, given the skewed manner by which elections are held. So we said, why waste time? Now, we segmented this election. We said, this is a general election, but it's not the same. You know for sure that we have a presidential election, parliamentary election, and local government election. And all these elections are regulated by different laws. We've got the Presidential Elections Act, we've got the Parliamentary Elections Act, and we've got the Local Government Act. So in essence, technically, these elections are different. Somebody was asking us, why do you run away from the presidential election but say you will contest? No, these elections are technically different. Only that our friends, tactically, have tried to organize them on the same day. to take advantage. Now, we said, given the circumstances, given the fact that everybody has been resisting electoral reforms, which are very critical, we are not running because the result, even to a child, is on the blackboard. We know the winner. Why waste time? Why waste money? So let's focus. Why are we focusing on the parliamentary election and local government election? Later on I'll tell you. We are focusing on the parliamentary election because we think that parliament must be used to organize the legal reforms that we need to undertake. So we need to have influence in that house so that our members of parliament introduce and table the bills which the National Resistance Movement, which Mao and the Chidiowa and the rest of the team have failed to bring in the last 4 years. So our members, if really God allows, should be able to enter parliament and introduce the bills that we need. We should be able to actually work within our reform and transition agenda.
But you see, Honorable, I do not want to say that you are not honest with some of your scientific research, if I should apply the word. You know that in parliament, numbers matter. At heart, you also know that you won't be able to front candidates in every constituency in this country. In fact, even if all the people you will front for MP go through, they may not be in position. They may not be in position to woo and or win any debate in parliament by, of course, getting numbers and having your reforms approved. So what other strategy?
Very good, Norman. Very good, Norman. In some of these issues, we are at par with those who have the numbers. For instance, when it comes to electoral reforms, on the issue of the register, we are at par with the NRM. Why would the NRM register biometric register? When it comes to the issue of appropriate technology to transmit results.
But that's later when you're in parliament now.
Yes, we are at par on most of these issues. Secondly, it is true, and you're right, the DF has not the capacity to front members of parliament nationwide. That capacity is not there. This is a 5-month-old party. Although it has got actors who have been around for some time. But they are syndicates. We believe in progressive coalitions. And we will do coalitions with everybody, with anybody.
But not with a loop.
Anybody in that house who has the numbers to move our agenda forward. Because what do we need? This country right now needs dialogue.
In a minute, yeah.
This country needs progressive coalitions which can change things. And this is what we are looking at. What are we looking at, for instance? We are looking at the obvious. One, we need this country to debate, in the parliament to debate the Presidential Transition Act. 2, we need to debate the Presidential Privileges Act and Immunities Act. We need to debate National Devolution Act. We need to introduce a Reconciliation and Reparations Act. Some of these things are actually so patriotic and nationalistic that even the National Resistance Movement members, if at all, they care about the future of this country, we certainly support.
Okay. Just like, in a minute, I want you to, I will ask our technical people to have Honorable Mabikke in his own shot. That's a language of cameras, yeah? So that you clarify about what has been moving around, that your party is now in bed with Honorable Munyagwa's presidency, because that is what is moving. And I do not know whether you have come forward as a Secretary General of such a party to clarify the stand. That is what the public knows. Are you for? You are not for anyone.
Oh, but why is Awich quiet? Because there's
no, he's coming here because thereafter
there's also been another one circulating that instead of Munyagwa now we have changed it to
NRM.
Now this era, this is an era of social media and an era of fake news. Actually, at one point Trump was talking about fake news all the time. Yeah. And I thought that
against Fox, I think
he was not serious. But now I realize
how serious
that
it is.
When you get into a national contest, There are many people who wish you bad. There are many people who attempt to divert. Number one, when the National Council of the DF took a decision that we, DF, will not present a presidential candidate, it also said we shall not support any other.
That was then.
Yes, we did so. And that is still the stand.
You are not supporting
The
Muyagwa.
DF did not present a presidential candidate, neither is it supporting any of those standing. Why? We believe that they are engaged, they are chasing wind. We believe that they are all engaged in a time-wasting venture. The winner of that election is already known. If you decided to nominate in that election without the reforms, without the transition, without taking appropriate steps really to make sure that that process is free, fair, verifiable, and credible. In the words of the honorable member from Nakaseke, Honorable Tamaguzi, you are a celebrated fool of the 21st century.
What about he who participates in the other two levels? Is he closer to that fool as well?
No, I hope that one is clarified. The DF is not
so let's come to
with the Common Man's Party.
Okay.
The DF is not in bed with that party. The DF is not in bed with the Honorable Sadeko. I also had him throwing tantrums. The DF is not in bed with the Mr. Awich's party. The DF has taken a firm stand not to participate until those matters are resolved, and we are doing everything possible to make sure that we get members of parliament who can be able to drive the agenda for reform and transition.
Okay.
As for the participation of the other levels, I have told you,
yeah, sure.
These are technically different elections.
Thank you, Honorable Mabikke. Now I want to cross to Honorable Awich Pollar. The challenge here, but of course he may not be challenged, you have to answer to both gentlemen. One being your OB, and of course the other one being your opponent here in this debate, but also politically. Additionally, the three of you are lawyers. Now, I do not know how best you will guide this nation, avoiding the too complicated legal terminologies and idioms that may confuse our viewers. He mentioned, by way of thanking you for having mobilized in Langwa sub-region, that's your OB, Dr. Rogers, Professor Rogers, rather. But also, what I picked interest in was that it is this time when Honorable Akena is literally toothless. Is it a move, a predetermined move by NRM, first of all to detooth Honorable Akena, then go to his area? Because in fact, a few days ago I saw Mama Miria Karuleo Bote visit the graves of the late husband. What is it that you people have been cooking? First of all, have you destroyed UPC purely? What is it that you people considered to begin, first of all, to begin with the Langwa sub-region in your campaigns?
No, thank you so much. But Mabikke asked why I'm quiet.
Okay, I knew that. I saw that coming. First tell him why you are quiet. It's when.
Why I'm quiet is basically my growing up in NRM, the kind of discipline I have, and again the cadreship we have in NRM. I'm not the type who would see Honorable Mabikke talking and I also try to jump. I have my notebook, I will always speak and write what I feel I should talk. So Mabikke, I'm quiet because of my discipline.
Of NRM.
The discipline of NRM and the discipline of NRM in particular.
When are you standing as chairman?
So don't be surprised.
That's the same discipline that makes them keep quiet.
So don't be surprised again when you're talking. I listen, I have my notebook, I'll take note. I'm not the type who would jump in and antagonize you and make really schoolboy kind of debate. That's why I'm quiet. So I believe I've answered. Now, secondly, I had come with the hope that we are going to discuss the independence, 63 years. And I don't know yet how much time we have.
We have.
That we shall go for that topic. Otherwise, we may end up in the periphery. Having said that, I know your question about UPC, but I also have things to comment about what my other colleagues have said. My OB of Ntare School, Rogers, talks about Luero compensation. Incidentally, I've been here since we captured power. Rogers, at the beginning, in Bulange now, Republic House, that is where we used to be as army headquarters. I saw people carrying sacks of money as compensation since '86. In fact, could have been a few months after the capture of power. So if you calculate the amount of money sunk in Luero in terms of compensation and development initiatives, it's so much. Maybe I would kind of wait for an indictment on NRM on the inability to follow up money sunk in such ventures, including northern Uganda. The money, amount of money used in SNOSAF, in what is so much. So the same thing in Luero. So much money is put in Luero for rehabilitation and compensation. I was there in NRA, in Republic House. We used to call it Republic House Bulange. Okay? Money compensation, Rogers, it has gone on and on. Only that you have people who are compensated, others come up and then they claim and then they claim. I don't know where it went. But I know the first compensation in '86 took place for Luero. Now, on the other thing, you also mentioned that NRM will not get Busoga and Buganda. I think that is your wishful thinking. We believe that we have had in the 5 years lots of interventions all over Uganda, including Busoga and Buganda and Busoga. In fact, President Museveni had behaved like the probable story in the Bible where a gentleman left his 99 sheep and went for the one which was missing. So Buganda was one of the, compare the previous voting, was one of the lost sheep. So Museveni went for it and all of us NRM went for it. So we are going to win. You also commented about how Besje is in jail and therefore it was a fear. You can't have an election when your friend is there. I don't think it's really applicable now because Dr. Kizza Besje for a long time had denounced that he was not going for any election politics. He had said he's not going to contest anymore because in his opinion, you can't win Museveni through the ballot. So the fear that is in jail because of election doesn't stand because we all knew, all our intelligence was saying that he's not going to stand after all. There's also Honorable Mabikke is saying the crowds are Chinese crowds. No, Honorable, I am
organic.
I am a member of the top management of NRM party because I'm a director. So this campaign all around, we have decided that it will be party structure led, and therefore we are not sub-renting or a task force, and therefore it is the structure and the secretariat. Therefore, we have divided ourselves among us as top management, the directors. I'm in charge Lango. So Museveni's first rally in Lango, remember he just launched in Luero. He didn't campaign in Luero. He's going back to Luero actually, because the timetable is drawn by Election Commission. Independent Election Commission. So Independent Election Commission has drawn Museveni is going back to Luero. So the first election was in Lango. In a Molatar particularly, I slept there. I went, I made sure public address system goes informing people about our candidates coming. I was in a radio station up to past midnight. The following day Museveni came, the crowd is real. I already told my friends that only that day I did not get the bullets. In this case, the T-shirts. Our branding, it had not come the first day, both Molatar and Dogolo, we didn't have, but you could see the crowd. So the crowd is real. But if our friends keep to hide their head in the sand and tell them some of the lies that it is not a crowd, it's good. It is even good to be underestimated by your opponent because they planned less than you. But I'm telling you that is the crowd. But we are happy that you could keep saying it is not true, so that we keep mobilizing and we move on. But I was there, I slept there. I am the focal person for Lango, and I am in charge of all the 10 districts. And now, I have always been puzzled about the transition act or the transition thing. I don't know, you said my colleagues are all lawyers, but the drafters of the Constitution of 1995 gave a very elaborate provision to move from one leader to another. I wonder why my friends keep saying there should be a transition. What kind of transition that we should debate about? Simply front candidates. If you defeat Museveni, that is a transition. It will move from, I don't know whatever dictionary definition of what transition means. If it is one power to the next, it is provided for in the Constitution. So I do not see any need for that. Between who?
Honorable Mabikke, you should tell our viewers and Honorable Awich Pollar.
Can you note that, then he will say...
No, because he mentioned it, yes. You can still address it, because to him, and so many people out there, think that there is need to have reconciliation. But also in a second, Honorable Awich, I wanted also to refer you to the national prayer breakfast, I think, that took place in the State House, and they were trying to highlight the importance, the power of forgiveness and reconciliation, if I may be guided about that. So the power of forgiveness and reconciliation. Why do you think that such a state function can have such a theme? Don't you think that's what Honorable Mabikke and others suggest?
First of all, I need to get the statement, the facts in what transpired in State House, because interpreting and paraphrasing won't make me make sense out of it.
Let me give you a brief
But
fact.
in natural, in ordinary setting, a state, a government, a Uganda is made of society of many people, either tribes, classes, political parties, all this and all that. So whoever makes reference to reconciliation would just be making a reference to conflict resolutions and conflict management in a society which is real, not ideal. Because if it was an ideal society, it would be a society of utopia where there's peace, harmony, and everything. So whatever makes reference to that is just making reference to the proposition that as a society, as a country, with the third schedule to the Constitution, what you call the indigenous communities, the tribes listed in the Constitution. I think there's 65. So all of us live in our own way, and in a way, you find some people are not happy. Religions, we have many religions, political, economic classes, whatever it is. So whoever makes reference to that is making reference to that. But truth and reconciliation as envisaged in many jurisdictions, like which took place in South Africa. Is a situation which is unapplicable where the country has had real divide of conflict. Like you have the apartheid regime and you have the war. There was a war in South Africa. Much as you could say there was a real rebel movement in South Africa, much as they adopted an urban warfare. And because there was a lot of killing and death, if you may wish to know, that even it reached a point in South Africa where the girls used to have what you call a scorpion pistol. Girls would go to bars and restaurants and shoot white soldiers there. It was really an urban warfare where people died and destruction was there. That is the only situation where you envisage a real truth and reconciliation problem, where we did not reach there. Maybe you're talking of a situation of Rwanda. That is it. So it was attempted in the north because of the conflict situation where Matuput was advanced, but that is overtaken by events and is not there now. So I wonder what we'll be talking about truth and reconciliation. In any case, we are talking about it in NRM because we know they are during the flag bearer fighting or campaign. There are those who won the flag and those who lost. So we are
reconciling internally, not
we are reconciling internally, and we wanted Dr. Wakano Rugone to do it. But for a country, have we been in the South African situation? Have we been in the Rwandan situation? What is this?
In a minute, then I'll cross to Professor Barigayomwe and Honorable Mike Mabikke. I want to ask you, it's not news that since independence there have been conflicts here. Do you consider because we want also to look for of course, through which we shall now touch our topic of discussion. Do you think this country has healed, as in it's in harmony, as in you can be very proud, NRM, going to Kasese and you just stamp yourself and like, we are very loved here, there is harmony, you cross to Gulu and it is well, you close to Teso. Do you think this country is at peace?
That is the second question to the UPC question. which I have not yet answered.
Answer both in a minute also.
But you gave Honorable Mabikke lots of time.
It is
Now
well.
for me, you are. Do you love NRM or you
No,
do you, and you
want to take my
see,
mandate.
you
That
gave
is-
Mabikke time to the extent that Mabikke himself was questioning why. Do you know why he was asking? Because I had kept quiet
You know
and
why?
listened
Because-
and listened
because he
and
wasn't-
listened and listened
because
to
he
the
wasn't-
extent that even the person you gave time started wondering why.
Why you
and
were
why.
quiet?
Now I've started talking, you are shutting down.
Proceed.
How?
Proceed, Honorable Awich. Now, what?
So,
Mhm.
I
So that he
also
also
wanted
keeps
to
quiet.
know, I have your two pending questions, but also I wanted to comment that it's good to know from Honorable Mabikke that we are winning, that NRM is winning. Thank you so much. I thank you for your well-researched position,
That you will
and
win.
it is the truth that all opinion polls taken, all research done is that we have the support from the people and we are winning.
No, he mentioned predetermined.
Yeah.
He just didn't say you are winning. He said
we
predetermined.
are winning. Now, again on this party making motions in parliament for whichever position that they wish, it's of course it is a matter of democracy. We would welcome that, but only that it must be in the interest of the majority party. We know for a fact that even this popular law, the Human Rights Enforcement Act, which now is so good to the extent that it removes the ethro defense of Attorney General. Because in the past, when a police officer breaks your leg, if you sue him, he will say sue Attorney General. It will also remove the defense of a superior command. That if a soldier, a police hurts you, he will say, I was acting on superior command. That law alone was a private member's motion. But we let pass using our majority because we knew it was genuine. So if he comes in with his minority, members
which you
of
consider national and patriotic.
Yeah, if any motion moved by them was good for us, we shall support. But I just want to emphasize that it must be in consonance with what we agree, that what we think. Like in the case of Human Rights Enforcement Act, we all knew human rights enforcement is good for us. So good luck for him. But unfortunately, I don't know how many constituencies they have fielded candidates. They must have fielded very few. So if those few go, we shall see what to do. Now, this brings me to your question of UPC.
Yeah.
UPC, as NRM, we have nothing to do with their issues. We are a revolutionary party who does not believe in underhand method. We approach concrete conditions concretely and look for solutions there and then. So UPC had its own internal problems, which has been running for so long. If it was a new thing, you'd think we had mechanically put it there. It has been a long thing in UPC, and that is their business. So we have nothing to do with UPC. Their quarrels, their fighting in courts is their business, which in any case, as I said, is not something planted during this election, so that you said we have mechanically put it. It has been a long thing of five or so years. That is their business. So we wish them good luck, but we still shall persuade them, since they don't have a candidate like them, all those parties that don't have presidential candidates, we will really invite them to come and support our candidate so that we move forward. Then your other question was?
Of whether you consider Uganda a very peaceful country, harmony amongst different tribes and regions, different sectors in government, different individuals. And I was wondering whether you have a yes or a no about.
I wouldn't like a yes or a no.
It's well,
in this situation.
you can.
You see, you can understand that in two perspectives. If you're understanding the independence of Uganda and harmony over a period of time, or you want me to catch it now, I can answer both.
Our 63 years now, whereby you have 40 years in government.
63 years has been up and down, just possible as any living society. Society is a living organ. It keeps living, developing, and having ups and downs. So we have had a fair share of our own challenges, just like any other country. Which country has not had challenges? Is it France? Is it Germany? All of them have had their fair chances. Only that some have had it long time ago, including America, with their civil war, their serious civil war. the Civil War in America. But the independence that we have had challenges. Maybe it is the beauty of the challenge that is making us what we are today. But at least now, I can say we are a happy country. We are happy, and I'm happy about it. Because, remember, Norman, all these countries in Europe who talk of, they seemingly seem to have peace and harmony as a unit. They are nation state. German for the Germans. France is for the French. Italy is for the Italians. The countries in Europe which has mixture, which has presumably peace, is Switzerland. I lived in it for 8 years. I was the world judge of human rights in UN for 8 years. Because Switzerland has the Swiss German, the Swiss Italian, the Swiss French, and there's another small community. But they have tried to live. And they are the oldest civilization, the oldest state in Europe compared to German. But you have a country like Belgium. I was in a body where I would oversee states would appear before me. I can assure you, Belgium would come before UN body, and nearly they are fighting among themselves. You have had countries in Europe where Andorra of 5,000, the Republic, Liechtenstein of 37,000, the Republic, whatever, Macedonia, Yugoslav broke, and when Tito died, they broke to the extent that Serbia and Montenegro played World Cup, they went to quarterfinal. As they are progressing in World Cup, they broke back home, and there were two countries. Now, what is it in this Uganda that under the 40 years of NRM, we have remained a country with our beauty in diversity, or by diversity with beauty? To the extent that if a Karamojong is in Kabale today and is talking on his phone back home in Kabale, who cares that a Karamojong is talking? Or a Munyankole is in Kitgum and is on phone ringing back to Mbara. Who cares that is a Munyankole? We are really living a beautiful country.
I want to give you this,
and we have done our independence.
I'm giving you this as a last question, and then we shall cross to the break. I don't want to use the few seconds to the gentlemen, because they will not be they will not give us what we need from this debate. So you will close for now up to the break and come back. Would you rather consider that Uganda doesn't need a truth and a reconciliation process, in your view?
There's no need.
There's no
what
need.
causes truth and reconciliation is conflicts of the magnitude that you see in South Africa, that you see in Rwanda. Where have we had such?
Okay.
Where have we had such?
Colleagues and viewers, that is from Honorable Awich Pollar. I wish to call for a break, and we shall of course come back, and that is going to work for us as a springboard towards asking the three of them, 63 years down the road. Honorable Awich Pollar maintains a school of thought that there is no need for truth and reconciliation. He doesn't see any need for it. The other two, however, seem to have a different angle of their submissions. Don't get away. We're coming back in a few seconds, and then we shall interrogate deeper.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hey Teddy, have you noticed how little attention science and health issues get in the media?
Totally, Edgar, yet science information is very important.
Yeah, for sure. That's why the Health Journalists Network is here.
How can they help?
They are a group of journalists dedicated to advancing public understanding of healthcare issues through impactful reporting on health and science.
Oh, really?
Yes, they meet up every month with scientists and researchers, policymakers, and activists at the science media cafes. They then relay what they discuss to the public.
Does that benefit us?
Oh yes, very much so. This helps with health and science literacy for a healthy Ugandan society.
Okay. I love getting informed about science and health issues. Health information makes all the difference between life and death. I'll look them up and engage them.
That's great. They are based all over the country.
Oh, okay, that's interesting, and they should be making real impact.
They are empowering health communities through journalism. Journalists can save lives just like doctors.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Viewers, we thank you for keeping it digital. We are trying to continue dissecting our 63 years down the road. My emphasis, though, it goes on to Honorable Awich Pollar, who in this particular debate is one of the seniors in the leading government, which with no doubt has been in power for the past close, by next year, January, there will be 40 years in power. So where we interrogate the 63 years, he carries the responsibility and the liability of 40 full years. Before we headed into a break, it was a question to Honorable Awich Pollar on whether or not Uganda deserves a reconciliation, and he gladly said he doesn't see any reason for which we need one, because Uganda is at peace. Crossing to Professor Rogers Barigayomwe, with him and of course the other colleague, Honorable Mabikke, there was a specific question: what do these gentlemen mean when they even talk about a transition? Remember, I gave a summary of our 63 years, if there were any transitions, coups, elections, to mention but a few. Maybe we begin with that, Professor Barigayomwe. What do you even mean? Because both of you are lawyers, and I mean, somewhere we read in our constitution, there is a stipulated process through which a country's transition would be, gained. What do you mean when you say there should be some bit of a discussion about a transition? And yet our laws specifically tell us on the how.
Leave alone even the laws. We are all Africans, and I like when they talk about Pan-Africanism. We are grounded in transition. And as Africans, leave alone this borrowed democracy, which is truly not believed in here. Every adult makes what intentionally, if for the purpose of their legacy, what in mind is called preparing a transition. Unfortunately, these people who are not preparing transition, history is going to judge them harshly, because their own mentor, I talk of Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, who President Museveni adores as his mentor, prepared for his country, and that's why his party is still in power. The reason he's talking about, he might, Major Awich might think they are the first people to make a constitution. It is not the first constitution. The other ones were just abused, because they were not prepared. Talk of Milton Obote, a man from his own region, who took Uganda for granted, and just few years, about 45 years away from, 40 years actually, having made from 85 when he was taken from power. UPC is not on the ballot. His son was denied being a presidential candidate. So the arrogance of the NRM, that they will think this paper they wrote and move out of the traditions of preparing for their own legacy, will judge them harshly. We, as historians, as researchers, are going to begin. They cannot manipulate history. We are starting to see the arrogance of NRM. It will be like UPC. In 10 years' time, they will not be anywhere on a Ugandan ballot. The people, imagine the pretense that we don't think of transition, yet they themselves are preparing their own transition in the back doors. is unfortunate. It is taking Ugandans for fools, and I don't know, they think every Ugandan is a fool. But the transition, one, is needed, as even any adult. I know I amend my will. Honorable Awich here amends any adult, but I'm not saying that President Museveni makes a will, but as a party, if you, like I'm giving them, he well told us here, they visited Chama cha Mapinduzi, they visited ANC, they have these discussions, a back door about how the party will outlive its leader. And especially if the leader is above 80 years. I've told you very well, the leader was my own father's classmate, their own party leader, and I know the same conditions, so I don't think one is supernatural. I know what my father goes through. So if you are 80, definitely you are going. Now, they said ideology does not, that it is not about biology, it is about ideology. But right now, biology in their party is a key element.
The gentleman you're talking about runs in some of his rallies. He's still strong.
That is,
so
whichever, even if it is to run for 20 years, biology will catch up with them. So the transition we are talking about is to prepare not only the country, but their own party. And to tell us that this paper, they've themselves been changing every 5 years, every other year for a benefit of a one person. And they think all of us with our grandchildren will just follow them, is playing on the minds of Uganda.
Does that make you disbelieve in the constitution and its powers? And its
no, what we are saying is,
the
the constitution can be amended. It can even be written off like they did with the other constitution. So let them not think this paper is going to remain forever, and it's going to be manipulated by them. Other Ugandans will come. But let me talk about something about the truth and...
Yeah, it's well.
I wanted you to just make a definition of a transition. What is a transition by definition?
In this regard, what Ugandans...
What is a definition of transition? What is transition?
But he's answering. Let him give you his...
I'm speaking in the spirit of Ugandans and the spirit of President Museveni giving his speech in 1986. Is the transition will be, first of all, from army men to civilians. Secondly, leaders will leave power, one leader to another. And that is a promise the NRM has made to us. And in several times in their manifesto, if he doesn't know, in their own manifesto, it has come up that at one time we will see a transition. It has been a promise to Ugandan. I don't think you think every Ugandan is an average fool, that we don't take these historical facts which you put in your manifesto. So what we are talking about is this definition of seeing a change in leadership, whether within their party structure or within the country. Inter-party, out of the party. So this kind is a spirit where we don't need to, you say that we simplify it for our audience. This is a kind of transition, the whole Uganda.
So it is a change of leadership.
That is it. That is it. We are talking about a peaceful, not just any change.
A peaceful
we
change
are
of
talking
leadership.
about a peaceful change. And I agree with Honorable Mabikke.
A second, Professor. What do you base on to think that after President Museveni there is no likelihood of having a peaceful transfer or transition rather? Because you seem to be worried of some space, some shadow. That where do you read from that there is likelihood of a bloody transition?
You see, the more he is, the more I'm not in control of my own transition, is likely to cause chaos even in my own family. But the more you are energetic and you can predict, like I'm giving you a model example. I'm not thinking, I'm giving you a model example of Nyerere, who lived about 10 to 15 years after his presidency, and he could manage as an elderly state. And I'm giving you that we are Pan-African, we as Africans, we see what is done in our societies. Leaders usually manage their transition by even setting aside, and they even determine. And Africans have even given it to President Museveni to just see in his sight. But this thing of, like I've told you, in the party they don't see, but yet there are some people who are being supported backdoor, is like you think all Ugandans are gullible, and you are going to confuse them that he's talking of no transition, yet it is clear we are seeing a supported transition. And you think all of us are fools to just go around confusing? No. Then the thing of the reconciliation, definitely. If anyone says that Uganda does not need a reconciliation, truth and reconciliation, I'm glad you saw the president in Kololo, because he has reached a level where he has noted that, you see, we cannot get out of it without, one, the truth and reconciliation. Because for some time, one party has been saying the story. And the thing I like about this is that even when they say the truth and reconciliation, because they said reconciliation committee, but they are not talking about, it starts with the truth, then reconciliation.
You first tell the truth.
You first tell the truth.
Then reconcile.
Exactly. Now, why are you leaving out that part of the truth? Ugandans
talk
need
forgiveness, yeah, and reconciliation.
Now, exactly, you are just jumping that we forgive you and reconcile.
So literally, the sequence of the words should be truth, reconciliation and forgiveness. So they are jumping, in your view, they are jumping the most key truth.
Yes, and I agree with Honorable Mabikke, because for me, in any case, I'm also a party leader, and for us, even we went absolutely, we are not going to involve ourselves in all these levels. Parliament, even local, because they are all, for him, even the other levels are corrupted and they are compromised. Why Ugandans need the Truth Reconciliation Committee? When I was doing my doctorate in South Africa, it was my benchmark. And South Africa society knew that they could not move a mile without this truth and reconciliation. Even after that, it is still working. They have a paper on the truth and reconciliation. Actually, in South Africa, they have a working paper whereby because the whites, they were a government of apartheid. And I want to tell you, a sort of apartheid has been created in Uganda, in some organization. No African was supposed to cross to white cities. There are some places which had been ring-fenced, even in Uganda now, for some tribes, for some ethnic groups. Now, that is why the truth they are skipping. There are some organizations, whether you bring, because we are academicians, bring PLE results, O-level results, A-level results, and you see how regions are performing. Then you bring some organizations, like, let's say URA, civil aviation, and you see the placement of people, and you tell me, some Ugandans, and do these places, do the organization produce a national character? If they don't, then how do you tell us, Honorable Awich here, that we don't need a reconciliation? Your own people in Lango will be disappointed in you if you tell them that some of these places, they are no-go area. Like, borrowing from the blueprint of South Africa, they say, no, at one time this place was 80%, 100% white. When we remove the white, no white comes back. Some of these organizations of Uganda need such a kind of print, whereby this one 80%, even some of them speak in one language which I know, and he might not know. You go to an office, you hear one language. Yeah? So we need a reconciliation as a country, whereby we say, no, some of the things went wrong. And this is, otherwise, this thing of, you're saying, like at one time, people were in exile, no one will go to exile. People are beginning to do that. First, some, and I saw one of their candidates in that now there will be no need of Ugandans leaving for work. But how many? Whenever I travel, 80% of the flight is full of Ugandans forcing themselves into exile or into working because something is not right here. Okay. Now, if you say there is no need of the truth and reconciliation, then your government is taking Ugandans for granted. Ugandans need the truth first. The truth in every area of their society. The truth in the army, in the public service. Let me, lastly, as a leader of Labour Party, talk about the teachers. How he's good enough. A corporal, a sergeant in the army gets 1 million. Or around that. They've been...
they've been...
Yet we know that traditionally, in a home, all of us, you have to pay, we pay fees, all of us, including him. But now teachers, they've reached a level of teachers being ignored, not even being promised, not being given a promissory note. And they are arrogant, and that's why this is a military government. They are arrogant on teachers, not even forcing them to work by force because they don't seem to understand anything about teaching. And they're like, you have to force to work by force. How do you compare? Their understanding is medistallistic. They understand what a corporal should not get less than 1 million, but a primary teacher can get less than $100 in their understanding, and you have to work by force.
Okay.
Because this is not, they are not saying the truth, and the teachers are disappointed. They've been forced to go to work. They are going to supervise exams.
But you see, Honorable Professor Rogers, what rather challenges all of us as onlookers, if I should apply that term, you people seem, not just seem, you have a good message, and you have time to educate people out there who watch you, who read your works, to mention but a few. Why do the same people you choose, okay, you front as suffering, in the end come and vote the very government?
That is a level of desperation, and they've created that, and it has been purposeful. And you remember what he said, that the only thing which was missing is a T-shirt. They've known Ugandans at a level whereby someone will take a T-shirt with a picture of Museveni and NRM as a souvenir. When the Ugandans have been reduced to that level, because even the education standards have been degraded. Those are some things we'll talk about in the 63 years. Like, they are confident. And look at the kind of people, and that's why I've told you it's comparable to saying that they should even kill the educational system. They should make sure a teacher suffers and a corporal is glorified. It is, we are going to think it is intentional. If they don't pay these teachers and yet they are increasing, generals, you know how much generals are retiring to? Billions. He will tell you, he will cross billions.
Himself.
A university professor retires to less than 100 million. General.
But you see, Professor, you didn't fight. Anyway, let me cross to...
So are they going to tell us the military people are the only useful people to this nation?
You didn't fight? Let me cross to Honorable Mabikke.
You're degrading even education?
Let me cross to Honorable Mabikke. 63 years down the road,
yes.
What do your lenses see on whether we are even independent? Because you may not respond to everything that Honorable Awich mentioned, but precisely about the reconciliation, about the transition, and 63 years down the road.
I will respond and also debate the 63 years. Number one, if I was the Secretary General of the NRM, watching this show I would immediately fire Honorable Awich. He has told us that he is running 10 districts. And I told him when I was starting that he actually had hired crowds and Chinese. And he has, with what he has actually deliberated, proves that. When you go on the ground, just in Lango, let me start with the Lango, and Iteso, and Acholi. And I said he's managing that. They are salient issues that need redress.
With those numbers they had there been issues, would they,
no, I
would
don't
they
want
have
to,
numbers?
Don't talk about numbers because everybody has numbers. Even the other day I saw Munyagwazi had numbers in Namungo. I saw FDC man has a lot of numbers in Kasese. Everywhere, even us when we go, we had numbers in Masaka ourselves, you know that. Don't talk about numbers really. Numbers matter less. These are just optics. But there are issues on the ground. There are issues in Luwelo he has been talking about. He said people carry sacks of money. But to this day, the people of Luwelo are demanding reparations. The country needs to know the truth. What happened in Luwelo? Who started the war? Who caused the war? Who did what? Who killed who?
Is it that bars Uganda from developing?
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. In Lango itself, where he says he's coming, one of the issues that was raised on their own Larry was the cattle which was stolen by the NRA fighters. In Acholi, it's the same thing. In Teso, it's the same thing. This country is hurting. People carry heavy hearts all over. We have been. People carry heavy hearts. They have been victims. And not just about war. And it's sad that he's only looking at war. Economic injustice, Rogers has been talking about. Land grabbing, cattle theft, denial of opportunities, incarcerations, torture. I found Rogers talking about torture. Today, as I speak now, 400 young people have been lying in prisons 4 years. And what is their crime? They supported a different candidate other than NRM. They have never been charged for any crime. Others have lost legs. Others have lost eyes. Others are permanently, disabled. You know, there are people on the street who say, I have been run out of business. You know, I have been overtaxed. I ran out of business. I was a rich man. I no longer have a thing. Now, you need to go through a process, as it says, number one, of truth-telling. We need to go through a process of forgiveness. We need to go through a process of reparations. Reparations. Paying. If I know I have transgressed, I have grabbed your land, acres and miles of land, I need to come out, apologize to you, say the truth, I seek your forgiveness, and even compensate you. Now, for Awich, Honorable, he is only thinking about your guns. But even the guns have been as fresh as Kasese. Recently, President Museveni himself came out. His own wife and the son, they read the document. You remember? Do you follow? They read the document about seeking forgiveness and with Uganda in particular. Where is the Honorable Awich? Is he really director of the NRM? Does he not know these things? Recently in State House, just 1 week ago, the main speaker was Obote's Minister of Security, who was incarcerated 24 years on allegations that he killed 2 people. And actually he made a good speech, and after that President Museveni came out and said, no, but that's why there's fact you have denied, but you killed my people.
Yeah, he mentioned.
You killed my people, 2 boys.
Yeah.
You know? But the whole thing was about forgiveness, reconciliation, and actually compensation. So Mr. Awich is out of touch, out of taste, and I don't think he's doing a good job for the NRM. And if he's doing so, he must be very, 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 very dishonest. 2, how can you not say that Uganda does not need transition? Number 1, the safeguards. He talked about the Constitution. The safeguards that had been put in by the writers of the Constitution were removed. The safeguards were on age limit. The safeguards were on term limit. What are we dealing with here? We are dealing with a life presidency. We are dealing with a quasi-military dispensation. This is not a truly democratic dispensation. We are also dealing with a group that is fraudulently kicking off a process of succession, not transition. Succession, not transition. Now, Awich Honorable has been around longer than myself. He knows for sure that since independence, Uganda has never had one leader handing over power peacefully to the next. Now we're talking about post-independence, 63 years. For the 63 years of our independence, Uganda has never had one leader handing over power peacefully to another. All the changes in Uganda have come through violence and spilling of blood, including theirs. Now, it had been expected that the NRM and President Museveni would introduce for the first time, just like he's talking about Nyerere, a system where one leader retires peacefully and hands over power to another for continuity. Moi did it, and this is why we have the Kenya we see today. Nyerere did it. This is why we have the Tanzania we see today. Now, Gaddafi resisted it. And that is why we have the Libya we see today. Gaddafi actually was talking about succession. My friend Mubarak, Hosni Mubarak resisted transition. He wanted succession. A man of Iraq, Saddam Hussein, resisted transition. He was talking also about succession, because succession is a model of North Korea, where one leader, life president, lifelong leader, runs a dynasty, and he hands over power to the son, and the son hands over power to the grandson, and so the dynasty rule continues. This was the model of Muammar Gaddafi, who wanted his sons to succeed him. This was the model of Iraq. Saddam Hussein wanted his sons to succeed him. This was Hosni Mubarak, who wanted Gamal Mubarak to succeed him. Now, when we talk about transition, we are looking at a period where we have a president for the first time handing over power peacefully to another elected president without spill of blood. And this is one of the unresolved questions for the 63 years of independence.
Okay.
Two, if I may also talk about this. Now, the central role of the military, the role of the military in the politics of Uganda. Ever since the military intervened in 1966 in Uganda, they have never left. Actually, the military, as we talk today, and in all the previous regimes, has played a central role in politics. Time has come for Uganda to divorce the military from civilian politics and public service. The military must have its rightful place, must go back to their rightful place. There is nothing the military is doing in our parliament. There is no place for the military in our public service. When you go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, when you go to the Ministry of Agriculture, when you go to the Ministry of Internal Affairs, when you go to most of these institutions now, Operation Wealth Creation, education. They move with them. I mean, you are saying the military is playing a central role, but that's not their role. Now, the military, the day the military is divorced from politics, from our elections, the day the military goes back and play its rightful role is the day we shall truly have a true democratic dispensation in the country. As of now, we are running with the Awiches of this world, veterans, ex-soldiers, and even serving. So today, the Ministry of Works is run by a general.
Foreign Affairs.
Foreign Affairs is run by a general.
I was talking
top 5 officers.
You know,
let me.
now,
you will respond.
These are some of the challenges. These are some of the challenges of the 63 years. How do we have the military controlled? How do we have the military subject itself to civilian control? And this has happened in countries which have had the revolutions like Uganda. When you go to a country like Burma, it's the same situation like we have in Uganda. The military has taken a central place in the politics of the country. Now, you cannot talk about a truly democratic dispensation in such a setup. And I wonder how Honorable Awich cannot be able to see this. Finally, they have been talking about issues of development. You know, when you tell them, say, you know, Uganda has developed, we have lived.
In a second, this is what I wanted to ask you in a minute, and then of course to Honorable Awich to, of course, respond to both of you. The task ahead of him is that he has to respond to both of you. One is bombarding him from the center, then the extreme end. But to ask, you seem to have painted out a picture that one of the concerns is that there hasn't been peaceful transfer of power since 63 years down the road.
Yeah.
Aren't there some other successes that you would applaud the gentlemen and ladies in government, at least for their 40 years, and also thank those that also led for the 23, that there could be some basic achievements for sure.
The biggest worry we have is a statement that President Museveni made in 1986. He said Uganda's problem is not the economy. Uganda's problem is not anything else. It is governance. And Africa's problem is leaders who overstay. Because in Libya, I can give you an example. Libya had the best health system. It had the best welfare system. It had the best roads, best hospitals, best schools. It had infrastructure that came down crumbling in just 3 months. And there was no more of that. Best housing, best public amenities. They were there in Libya. But their problem was governance. And this is what we're talking about. You see all these nice buildings, all these nice roads, and all these developments we have had in these years, they can all come down tumbling.
But
in 1 month, like Gaza.
Save for the power. No, save for the power-hungry opposition members like you and others. A citizen has good schools, has good hospitals, has good health care, has good everything, infrastructure. What else is that citizen looking for?
It is politics, stupid. Clinton said it is politics, stupid.
Okay.
So it's about largely governance. If you don't resolve the governance question, then you don't have the economics right. Because, you know, this can all be a bubble. It can come down tumbling. Now, let me give you a last example.
In half a minute, and then I come to remember.
Actually, after 40 years of the national resistance movement, Uganda was at the same level at independence like South Korea, like Singapore, like Indonesia, like Malaysia. Why have these countries leaped so fast forward? Okay. And the turnover of these 63 years, Uganda can never chase South Korea, you cannot chase Singapore, you cannot chase Indonesia, you cannot chase Malaysia, you cannot even chase China. Why? Okay. Leadership, governance. If we don't resolve the governance question, the rest of whatever we're doing is really a bubble.
Okay, let's thank you, Honorable Mabikke. Now let's Honorable Awich, let's begin with that very question of our status back in 1962 when we were at a level, the same level with Malaysia, Singapore, to mention but a few. And we seem, according to them, we seem stagnant. The reason for which I also have to add, it's because out of the 63, you have the 40. Even if we requested you to account for just the 40, what would be your reason that even after there? Because there are also some countries for which we are at the same level when you captured power. And all of a sudden, for some reason, they left us. Why is that?
Okay, thank you so much. I also note that you have said I'm being bombarded by two people.
Okay.
And how I wish they were bombarding my ideas, which I'm putting on the table, than bombarding personally. Because when Mabikke goes personal, he says that the Secretary General should sack me. He says, it makes such a personalistic, which reminds me of, we didn't even used to have that debate in Intari School. At least in Intari School, we would talk
He's
issues.
from Chisubi.
We would we don't talk about the speaker, but rather what the speaker is speaking. So how I wish the bombardment on my issues I'm raising than bombarding my personalities. I would have no problem with that. Otherwise, I would really feel the nature of debate wouldn't be that good. I have no problem with my ideas being bombarded, like I bombard other people's ideas, but I wouldn't go into personalities. Now, about the question of Uganda and Singapore, which is actually a good comparison, is that first we have had a challenge as a country, especially from the 1971 coup. 71 to 79 took us backwards because Amin came through a coup, and there was lots of global sanction on Amin, because we as Ugandans wanted to remove Amin, so we sacrificed ourselves to allow the sanction, just like the South African did. South African during apartheid, they called for sanctions against South Africa. Ronald Reagan and Ronald Reagan, the then president of America, and Margaret Thatcher, the then prime minister, argued that they wanted constructive engagement with South Africa. Their argument was that should you sanction South Africans, it is the blacks to suffer. But the blacks said, we are ready to suffer. Why? You go ahead and sanction. And true to OAU, where Uganda took a lead, is that we really enforced the sanctions to the extent that Ugandan passports used to read to all countries except South Africa. That was a bit to enforce the sanctions. Now, the same thing happened in Uganda. Because we wanted Amin, we also agreed for the sanction, to the extent that for over 5 years, you couldn't have salt. Salt. Whether rich or poor in Uganda, there was no salt, leave alone sugar and soap. So the sanction destroyed the factories, the industries, which were there. And therefore, that mistake of a coup in 79, plus the with the bid to remove Amin, took us back. In those years alone, Singapore left us. And incidentally, the coup happened when Obote himself was in Singapore. Because Nyerere and Kaunda had convinced him that they are going to put the case for the liberation of Southern Africa. So they wanted Obote's debate, his input in that debate. Obote actually had sent something. So it is the same Singapore that we are comparing. So one reason is that that period, that 8-year period, put us backward. It destroyed the economy to the ground. We had factories. That was one. Two, the subsequent instability put us also at a disadvantage. But that is as a country. But there's a global problem that put us, not only Uganda, but Africa. Because we were living in a global system of what you call the Bretton Woods institutions, the World Bank, IMF. You could say that why didn't the leaders reject? But it was such a global move that it kind of held the economic development to its tune. That is the IMF, World Bank conditions and hostage. So you now had things like privatization, whether good or right. So it came to a point where, however, and that's why I'm now saying it is not a Ugandan thing, it is an African thing, save for countries which had its petrodollar like Libya, but which also the global system found a way of dealing with it. even when countries like Libya could survive this situation because they had the petrodollars, they were still brought actually worse than us. So part of the problems that you're saying is Uganda specific, but part of the problem is global. And that is where we find ourselves where we are. So that is it. I believe I have addressed it. And this therefore means, regardless of whoever would have been in State House, you'd still find yourself in a fix. And not only State House in Entebbe, but State House even in Kenya and in Tanzania. And they are feeling it all over Africa, except the petrodollar countries which try to move away. And they, because of the global, the imperial system, the imperialism around, even when you walk it out through the petrodollar like Libya, they actually come out more crude than the one they use in Uganda. Remember, they have kept the economy to the point that a cost of a Land Cruiser in 1960, okay, by 71 when Amin took over, a cost of Land Cruiser, if it was costing 5 bags of coffee, the same Land Cruiser now is costing 50 bags of coffee. So the imperialism has kept on maintaining the Africa zone low and low while they keep going. I repeat, why we are here is because of a few Uganda specific, especially from the 71 coup thereabout. But a bigger part is the global network, which can only be resolved through a global network, either non-aligned or the 77 developed countries, or some system under a global network in the UN, not a Ugandan or a Kenyan thing.
I wanted to ask you this before you add onto your submission, Honorable. There are some historical and, of course, factual incidents where I want you to connect the foreign force to them. And I will highlight. Let's mention corruption. How foreign is our corruption in this country? And the other one is about what the likes of Honorable Mabikke, Professor Rogers, and others also consider as unfair and unconstitutional, having such amendments where, of course, SFC, it's on record, comes to Parliament, beats up people. Before you know it, the law is amended. So how foreign is that? How do we also attach such an attack to Parliament itself? How do we use the Black Mamba's attack onto court to foreign states?
And let me answer this too. Let me answer this. Amin captured power because of misrule.
Yeah, so could you kindly
Amin
connect?
did capture power because of misrule. Amin was there 8 years. In South Africa, the sanctions went on for about 30 years. The South African economy quickly recovered. Today, it is the number 2 or 1 economy in Africa. The Amin is talking about Uganda Railway was profitable, Uganda Commercial Bank was profitable, Uganda Cooperative Bank was profitable, Nightil, our cloth factory, was working. Where it comes from, in Lango, Lira Spinning Mill was working, it was profitable. Uganda Airlines was started during Idi Amin, it was a profitable venture. And so were many like Uganda Fish Network.
Okay, let's see.
Now, there was coffee boom. Let him not forget, there was coffee boom. This economy of Uganda under Idi Amin withheld the shock. Why? We had the food security and we had the coffee boom. So it is erroneous for him to say that those 8 years are out of the 63 are the ones which account for our present state.
Proceed, sir.
Okay. You see,
you have fair time, yeah.
On the long list, if you have to take an inventory of all government
63
agencies, like the ones he's mentioning, those who were surviving, the list of inventory is so long. But a simple question or a simple answer as an indicator of a collapsed economy, where for 5 years you can't have salt. Now, how would you talk of a profitable enterprises, a profitable bank, and you really don't have salt in the entire jurisdiction of Uganda for 5 years? And somebody proudly says the economy was robust.
where you would know people were washing clothes with leaves for soap, not for a week, but for 5 years. And you said you list an assorted kind of systems and you said it was working. Never. I would say the banking was not profitable, but people had salt in their sauce. People had soap to wash. There was no salt for 5 years, and you still boast that there was an economy.
So how possible was that?
The economy was dead. Even Amin himself cried that they have brought him down because of the sanctions. The economy died, and that is why we have not recovered. Now, you have a question on corruption and how foreign. Corruption is very foreign. Very foreign. I was just limiting myself because we don't know how much time we have here. And I don't know from which literature many of us read from. For example, the human nature of material interest is there. And even corruption is not about black or white. Why, for example, developed countries have developed technology was because technology would inhabit or protect them against personal greed. You can't go to a supermarket and carry in America because the machine will detect you. If there was no theft or corruption in America, they wouldn't do that. American army have said they went to Iraq when the banks were destroyed and they tried to pay soldiers in cash. There was a Biakutaga in Baghdad. He took off with money. The Americans. He took off. Now, the foreignness of corruption is like this. When World Bank, IMF introduced privatization, the element of privateness was introduced into people's sight. You cannot talk of our morality when in the economy you are talking of my
interest first.
So you can't superimpose a morality which is a social concept, a social category, on a private thing. That is why, even in a country like Russia, did you know that there were no beggars in a society during the USSR thing? Immediately they privatized, beggars came on the street. Prostitution, this thing of Speak Road women standing, it was not there before IMF World Bank. Simply because the morality, prostitution, you could actually not say because you want money. But prostitution initially is from your moral thinking. Yes. It is wrong to sell yourself. You are talking of moral. But moral is a social category. So once the private IMF World Bank came in, it is my moral, not our moral. So it is me, a woman, to determine whether to sell myself or not. So the privatization inculcated into people's mind the oneness, the private accumulation of wealth, to the extent people's morals were affected. And it does happen in America, in Europe. That is why I'm saying for them, their remedy is the technology. In banks, supermarket, everywhere. Otherwise, you remove it now, you'll see how they will be. They'll be as corrupt as anything. So, it is foreign. It is foreign.
Corruption
and
is foreign.
Including prostitution. It is foreign. Because when the IMF World Bank introduced this, the morals were completely
Bring Pollar back to 63 years.
It is all dead. So I think I've answered for you the connection of corruption with foreign.
Honorable, in a second, Honorable Awich also. If I may ask, aren't there remedies that you people, because you see, when I read your manifestos, because at least I read every manifesto from 2001 when I was at least more enlightened. One of the things you guys in power, you always mention dealing with the corruption. Does that mean that you lie to the public that you will fight corruption when in actual sense, as you mentioned, it's a foreign evil that you may not be in a position to
cannot answer that.
To deal with?
You're
not him. He's here.
He cannot answer that.
He's here.
No, I'm saying corruption is foreign. And when they say we are fighting, we are fighting. And I've told you how the developed world fight with corruption. For example, in the case of passport, it was a well-known fact that corruption was in passport procedures. Because money was exchanging hands. And how do we come about it? Said, no, you know
Go
what,
to the
colleagues?
bank, pay.
Introduce the technology. Pay in the bank, process online, get your passport. That is one way we are fighting. And we are doing to do it in various other avenues. Why is Honorable Mabikke saying I can't answer? Haven't I answered you?
You have not.
That we are talking that corruption is foreign, yes. And it is provided for because once IMF World Bank introduced private element in society, everybody went into private accumulation of wealth, which led into corruption. Now, one of the remedies is, as I've told you, you identify a corruption area, like passport area. You said we have identified that corruption is in passport accusation. So what do we do?
No
remedy it. Remove person-to-person connection. Introduce technology. You deal with it. Then you identify another, and so on and so forth.
Okay, finally, to you, because you represent 40 years out of the 63, I would ask you to use the 2 minutes and give us a way forward as we conclude.
Time.
No, he has to.
No,
because how do we move forward?
From
like what is happening now, the 63 years, which you seem to...
What we move forward is, I agree that we need governance system. And that is why we are sticking...
A new governance system?
No. That is why we are sticking to the grand norms of the law, the constitution. Because the makers provided for it. Okay. Even the Nyerere that we are talking about, election was held and somebody won. So we are saying, if we are...
But he didn't participate in an election to lose.
Yes, he didn't. Disappoint them. But for us now, in a multi-party dispensation, it is us to choose our party, our flag bearer.
Okay.
You choose yours and let him defeat ours.
Them.
And then it will be like the Tanzania, choose yours. Choose yours.
Thank you. I think you have had, Professor, kindly use 2 minutes.
Yeah, in my 2 minutes, I will submit that these 63 years are funny. The ones who are judging for 40 years are about to be judged. This man, for example, he was talking about Idi Amin. People are beginning, that's why I say for me I'm more interested in legacy than what is happening now. Ugandans are beginning to think Amin, even those birth pains, where people are not taking sugar. Ugandans are beginning to think now they were for Ugandans. Because when you go to see that city, is partly for Ugandans now.
Which one?
He took all these things from the Indians, partly to empower Ugandans. But Ugandans are beginning to think these people for 40 years who have been yelling, instead are the ones who have taken away what is from Ugandans back to what Amin, they are reversing what Amin did. A point of fact, when President Museveni was launching his manifesto in Lubowa, he clearly said, Lubowa here, there was coffee. The indigenous coffee for Ugandans, it was here. Now you see tall buildings.
Did he launch manifesto?
Just like,
no, means on the nomination.
Just like CMI, where Doctors Village was for doctors. Now, you see who owns. Where we are surrounded is no longer Ugandanized. These people in 40 years from now, they are going to think Amin is a hero. And if NRM does not check on these next years, their legacy will be hopeless. These people will be no grandchild. Like people are beginning to, a person who committed atrocities, they are beginning to be proud of them more than, I've told you the neighborhood, you know it, we are in Kansanga. We are in,
a problem,
you know what is happening. Even on rent, you know the communities which are here. And they say Uganda has the best refugee policy. I'm a human rights professor. Which best policy? When these people they are bringing in are not, there is no educational plan for them. When we are taking our children to school, they are playing pool. What message is the NRM government sending to the public, to our children? Yet these people own most of the investment. That school is not necessary. What plans do you have for these people you are bringing in? Without any plan. History is going to judge the NRM if they don't work very hard on the transition. History is going to judge you harshly. If a primary teacher, if a teacher will get less than $100 and an Amejeno gets millions, we will never forgive you and your legacy will be tainted.
Okay, thank you, Professor Rogers. Now, let's because you have to now to respond to his, and you partially participated in an election, you have your full 4 minutes, and then we shall leave here.
Number one, Norman, in 1977, 1 year before Idi Amin was removed, he made a very huge donation to the United Arab Emirates in hard cash and in food products. So we seem to be reading from different texts with Awich. That is not a sign of a man who had been hit by sanctions. Amin left 264 operational parastatals. 264, including Uganda Airlines, which was run down by the Awichs of this world. Sign of a man that didn't have salt. But anyway, this is a debate for another time. Our friends in NRM must stop the blame game. They have been around so long to correct all the mistakes of the past, including organization of free, fair, verifiable, credible elections. When it comes to elections, it is a very, very important tenet in the NRM program, because it is the reason they went to the bush. Bad elections. 40 years down the road, we still have Ugandans arrested, tortured, incarcerated, because they hold a different opinion from that of their leader. Very, very sad. Very, very, very sad. 40 years down the road, we have 2 registers. 40 years down the road, we have an impartial, partisan, and biased electoral commission. How different is it for the 1980 electoral commission that had been appointed by the military commission? Now, NRM had 40 years of the 63 years to correct the mistakes of 23 years. They have not done so. Let me give you an example.
As we close, yeah.
Very, very, very simple one. It takes a cycle of 25 years to leap from low developed country to middle income and even to second world. This has been the story of Indonesia. This has been the story of Malaysia. It has been the story of Singapore. 25 years span. It is the story of China. 25 years to live from least developed country to middle income and even now to second world. Look, 40 years. Okay. Uganda is still least developed country. So, we deserve better than we have, which cannot justify the failures of the 40 years out of the 63 years. I would think that the NRM would have done better to correct whatever had gone wrong in the 23 years. They have not been able to do so. Very, very, very sad. And when I hear my elder brother, Honorable Awich, debating in the way he is, I get very, very, very sad for Uganda, and I also get very, very sad for the NRM.
Okay, as we stop.
Moving forward, brother, I would think that Uganda deserves better than we are having. I would think that time has come for very, very serious reflection. I think that time has come for Ugandans to sit under very, very serious dialogue to see how we can now pick up the pieces, correct what is going wrong, and focus on the future. Any Ugandan who wants a better country, any Ugandan who is looking at the future should be able to support transition, should be able to support reform, it should be able to support reconciliation. And that's our program in DF.
Okay.
Now, just half a second.
Yeah.
A question was asked, you ask it, as to why my colleagues talk like this and the people still vote. That is a sign that for them they are detached from reality. Okay. They are detached from reality.
Okay. Whoever is watching, people, sometimes we wish we could have more time, but of course, that's a very, very valid question. And of course, I want to use this as a disclaimer, but it's a fact that even when Honorable Mabikke says we need better and the rest, at the back of our mind, he has not mentioned which presidential candidate they have, because they know for some reason there is also power at the presidency. They don't have a presidential candidate. They haven't supported any. Now,
but why? It's a fait accompli.
Okay.
A fait accompli. We know actually that these elections are organized in such a skewed manner that they would favor only one person. The elections in Uganda under the Electoral Commission are organized like elections inside the NRM.
Okay, let's stop it there, Honorable. But to say, we will catch you up tomorrow. We have Honorable Medad Segona, and he will also share with us what he has for, literally closer to the very, very topical discussion until, we are in an Independence Month. And to ask, at least from Digitalk TV, we ask you to vote issues. At least that is the basic we can begin with, not with emotions. And catch you some other time, Norman.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.